Let's get straight into it, guys. Lactic power and capacity. So, as always, Coach Kenny, we run Total Athlete Takeover. We've got athletes all over the world, right from amateur debuts all the way up to UFC main events, done camps with Sean Brady, Chris Curtis, Gaston Bolaños, Cody Gibson, CJ Vergara, some world champion, some former world champion boxers, top ranked boxers in the WBA and WBO, and many more. So let's get right into it. What is the lactic system? So if this is the first time you're watching something from me, the body has 3 energy systems. This time we're talking about the second one, the lactic system. The goal of this system essentially is to help your body push harder for longer and fatigue, be able to work through that that slow, burnt out kind of feeling that you get sometimes in fights, keeps you fresher through the fights. Very important to note, because I always have people say this when I make these videos, all systems are working together at all times. So regardless of what training interval you're doing, the lactic, the alactic, and the aerobic system are all involved. However, we're talking about the highest contribution from the lactic system in this video. So there are 2 types of lactic training. Lactic capacity, which helps your body stay in higher fatigue zones for longer without fatigue taking over. So if you're an MMA fighter, think long grappling exchanges, continuous extensive work without being able to recover. You're able to do that more often, do that for longer without that like burnt out, can't grip my hands together type of feeling that sometimes comes on. And then lactic power, which is being able to generate more power under fatigue. So even when you are exhausted, being able to explode again and having that actually feel powerful. So think later round of the fight, you're tired, it's been a hard fight, your ability to still just bite down, throw a hard combination and feel like it's coming out explosively and fast, not have that like slow shot that I know we've all felt at some point or another, because that's no fun for anybody except your opponent, because it's easy to avoid. So what do you actually feel in the fight, and what does that mean? So basically what I'm doing here is telling you what you should focus more of your training on depending on what you feel. So if you need more lactic capacity, you basically feel in the fight like you just hit a wall and your energy dropped off completely. So it's like you're good. All of a sudden it's just like everything feels like shit. You get tired, you can't recover from it. If you feel like you need more lactic power, now, you're still going to be tired, but it's more so that you can't explode again. So you might be able to kind of keep moving, keep going, but you can't feel that same power as you can feel in the early parts of the fight. Or another really good example is, let's say you hurt your opponent and you don't have that explosive ability to finish the fight when you know your opponent's hurt. So like we watched Alex Pereira do to Magomed Ankalaev, and I know that was very early in the fight, but it's just a good example. He was hurt, he got on top of him, and it was just hammering away, elbows, hands, whatever, until he was out. There was no slowing down in that moment whatsoever, right? That's where we know the lactic power is working well. If he had gotten on top, thrown the first few shots, and then all of a sudden it starts getting a little slower, a little more labored, now that means the lactic power needs improving. So lactic capacity, you're going to focus more on about 8 to 6 weeks out from a fight. Start increasing your focus here. So that's 1 to 2 days per week. You're going to do 30 to 90 seconds of work, 30 to 90 seconds of rest. Keep it about a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2. A 1-to-1 all the way up to usually a 2-to-1 work rest ratio is good. I've seen people go as high as 3. Still good. You're kind of hitting the edge of making it a little more aerobic at that point. You're going to do that for 6 to 8 rounds, 1 to 2 times a week. 8 to 6 weeks out from your fight. That's when we want to keep the most focus on capacity. Now, lactic power, we're going to focus more on as we come closer to the fight. 5 to 2 weeks out, 15 to 30 seconds of work, 30 seconds to 2 minutes of rest for about 6 to 8 rounds again. And generally here, we're going to stick in the 1-to-2 to 1-to-4 work to rest. So the goal of lactic power is that you are at or absolutely as close to 100% power through every set. So let's say you do your first set and you feel like you're really not recovering well from it. Give yourself more rest. It's not about just keep going even though you're tired. It's about giving yourself the rest you need to keep going at 100%. So that could be starting off with like you're doing sets of 30 seconds and you're resting for 2 minutes, right? Or sets of 15 seconds, you're resting for a minute, even a little bit longer if you feel like you need it. But as you go, the goal is to increase the work time, decrease the rest time until we get to that like 1 to 2, 30 seconds of work, 60 seconds of rest, something like that. Now, what to use. So I put a whole bunch of exercises in here because every time I make conditioning videos, what exercise do I use? How do I do this? What if I don't have an air bike? If you don't have an air bike, it's fine. The important thing to remember about conditioning always is it's output over exercise. So you don't need it to be an air bike. You don't need it to be any one of these machines. Think output. So when we think of the capacity work, right, you need to be able to maintain that high pace as high as you can go for 60 to 90 seconds, 30 to 90 seconds. What can you do and maintain pace for that long? So you can use any of the things you see on the screen here. You can create a circuit where you're doing 45 seconds of medicine ball slams, 45 seconds of battle ropes, medicine ball slams, kettlebell swings, squat jumps, kettlebell swings, squat jumps, battle ropes. You can do one exercise for the whole work set. Does not matter. The goal is the output. If you can push at or as close to 100% as you can maintain for that time, you're doing it properly. Personally, I prefer the air bike. I find it's one of my favorites. It's easy to use. Well, it's hard, but it's easy to just jump on and go. You don't have to worry about different or anything. But if you don't have it, use whatever you have access to and focus on output over exercise for both the power and the capacity. And the keys to remember, guys, this is an overview. There's always going to be times to change it up, right? It's not a perfect 8 to 6 weeks out every time capacity, 5 to 2 weeks out every time power. If you feel like you struggle more in one of those areas, spend a little bit more time on it. Do an extra session a week. Do a little bit in your off season as a secondary conditioning focus. Which brings me into point number 2. Your struggle determines where you should focus more of your time. If you heard those points, what do you feel and what does this mean? And you were like, man, feeling like I don't have to finish the fight. That's me. Well, then spend a little bit of extra time on the lactic power, right? Take these ideas and make them make the most sense for you based off of you and what you need. Now, finally, if you found this useful and you want to learn a little bit more about training, or you want some help prepping for your next fight, check out the application in the description of this video for our one-to-one coaching. Fill it out. Me and my team will be in touch right away to go through exactly how those programs work with you. And as always, make sure you keep watching our channel. Make sure to subscribe because we're going to be putting out a lot more content like this, and I don't want you to miss it. So appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope to hear from you soon.